just inviting Ian live, so hopefully he will be joining soon. And we will get started. So this is actually Ian's t-shirt, if you guys didn't know it. And he will introduce himself very soon once we get it all sorted. Hello, how are you? Where are you coming in from? Mexico? Lovely. Oh, cool, Kansas. I was just reading The Wizard of Oz, actually. It was a favorite story, and I've never read the book, so I've been reading it whilst I've been with my parents. Cool. Hi from Sri Lanka. Beautiful place. I was there back in 2010 when I was working on a cruise ship. Let's see. Hopefully we'll get this soon. Caribbean, beautiful. Kelly, nice. Hi, how are you? Okay, Blissology is not able to. We'll get this. All right, let's see. Request. Not yet. Hopefully it'll work soon. Hey, good day to Australia. How are you? Hey, can you join, Ian? I just tried to invite you, but it wouldn't let. Are you able to send a request maybe to see if that works? So what's happening? So I just sent you a request, Ian. Yeah. Good. How are you?
Good. Made it.
You made it. Yay.
Hi.
The funnest bit is waiting for someone to join you. Why you look like an idiot.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Exactly. Today I'm interviewing myself.
I know. It's like, hi, what else do I have to say? How are you doing?
Oh my God, I am on fire. I'm still on fire. We've been doing our advanced alignment and adjustments course. Just finished, actually. Freaking love yoga.
Yeah.
Love these people. Love going deep, and feel like $1 million. $1 trillion.
You're glowing.
I could
happy.
pay the U.S. debt. I feel so good.
You look like you're a surf dude too with your hair. You've got it really gnarly at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I've actually, I've been pretty busy writing the book, so I got a couple of days off. I'm gonna get a haircut soon.
Oh, you should leave it. You're looking young and youthful with it. Did you want to maybe introduce yourself for anyone who doesn't know, or tell them about the advanced alignment, or?
Sure. Oh, the advanced alignment. Yeah. Well, what I do want to say. Oh, sure. My name's Ian. I'm in Canada right now. I just got out of a course, literally, at Starbucks, in interior British Columbia. It's quite nice. 32 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
It's beautiful, and I've been practicing yoga a long time, since 1987, teaching for 24 years. I'm kind of on a mission. I'm on a mission. I feel like the popularity of yoga has kind of decreased as people are doing more like HIIT workouts and pickleball and all this other stuff. And I want people back. We just had an amazing advanced vinyasa practice today. We've been going deep into all these poses, and there's just nothing like it. And it's time. It's great. Everyone's been doing all these other experiments, but let's get people back to yoga and teach the yoga that they love, and feel as good as possible. So we don't just get the fitness part, but we get loose, we get relaxed, and we get the soul.
And you can see the joy that's coming from you, that you can feel, is what you want.
Ain't it? It's really been like an amazing day. Yeah. So we do all these modules. We have our 500-hour training. So we do 5 days on, 2 days off. So yeah, I don't know. We just did our yoga, mind, body, medicine. So that's all about like the deep workings, epigenetics, DNA, all the deep ways yoga can affect you, and meditation, hormone systems. So that was our first one, yoga, mind, body, medicine. And then we took 2 days off, and then we did advanced alignment and adjustments. 2 days off, and we have this one, super flow, next week. And then we do yogic by nature after. That's more of a philosophy one. Yeah, so it's epic.
For you, like an a lot of people that don't know, yoga is much more encompassing. So it really is a holistic approach in that, you know, you're looking, like everybody always comes to yoga from, say, a social media perspective and says, I'm not flexible enough, or it's not for men, but you have like gathered it to the point where it comes from that joy and healing space for everybody, correct? So when you say advanced, it's a bit different to what most people would say as advanced.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it doesn't have to be advanced to be yoga. I know you love pushing the limits. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we got to find an on-ramp for people as well. And I'm really big into that topic, to try and find ways to make the yoga experience really, you know, meet people where they're at, and in a really logical way. Yeah. Which is actually what I wanted to tell you about this book. Here it is here, Yoga. There it is. Yeah, I'm stoked. Anyway, I'm really excited to bring this out, and it's going to give people some deep tools, to really a real somatic education. I mean, even when you mentioned stiff guys, like, just to linger on that topic for a little bit, I feel that one of the issues is that so many guys don't know how to find release valves, how to, like, it's kind of like you always taught one size fits all, and they're just trying to like push, and they don't know like how to modify things. For example, what I'm learning is that wheel pose, it only occurred to me as I'm writing the book, like wheel pose, for example, you know, you go to the gym and you have a Stairmaster and it goes level 1 to 20.
Yeah.
Like wheel pose is kind of like you got to start at level 12. There's no one, you know. So at the carnival, you got to be this tall to go on the ride.
Yes.
You got to be that tall. You have to have like 180 degrees of shoulder flexion to be able to do it. You have to be like, if you don't, you're going to actually probably hurt yourself. So it's just logical things of what I really want to do is bring progressions back into yoga. So we learned so much in a vinyasa class. So you're a stiff guy, you're like, oh, just struggle your way through some wheel pose, and you're just kind of driving with the gas and the brake on. It's not comfortable for you. You're actually probably risking hurting yourself. And so it's like, no, just go to the wall and do puppy pose when everyone else is doing it, and do that for 6 months, get your shoulders open, and then come back and do this once you're qualified to go in it. You know, don't feel bad about that. Just be smart. And I want to give people those logical tools and what we're actually doing, so they're not just beating themselves up.
And because it also requires a lot of strength and stability in the shoulder joint as well, like even if you were super flexible, I've seen a lot of people super flexible and they can't even hold the pose because there's no strength. So you have the counter also, right? And you would also be working on that area too.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it, is that I think one of the pathologies that's been happening in our yoga industry is that, you know, if you study kinesiology or biomechanics and stuff, which I've done, hypermobility is actually a pathology, and that we're making that the holy grail. Mm-hmm. And so there needs to be, as you've been teaching a lot of people as well, some kind of way of stabilizing the more bendy people so they have the strength in that container as well. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole spectrum between like the super stiff and the super bendy. And that's the whole point, is that the instructions for what I would tell a super bendy person are completely different to what I would tell a stiff person, right? Like in wheel pose, I would tell a bendy person, squeeze your legs together, gather your arms, like create more resistance. But that's like taking a tight guitar string that's already tight, bing, 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 and tighten it more. It's actually not a good strategy for our stiffer friends. So we need a solution. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And it's not something either for a lot of people. You go into a class and it's very one size fits all, and it's a shame because so many people lose the joy in the experience.
Yeah, they get injured, they get frustrated. Yeah, so I mean that's again what this whole thing's about, is it really goes into detail logically. It's just so logical. It's so logical, and it's so inspirational, and it's taken me 12 years to get there, right? Because there is, I mean, you know, but I don't know if everyone knows that just how much there is in every pose. It's we're doing these really sophisticated things. And so what I'm saying is it actually took me 3 different times to write the book, because I would write it and it would make sense if you're really into technical things, but the average person who's just getting into yoga would be like, oh, I can't hang with you, man, it's too complicated. So I had to rewrite it and rewrite it. Now I finally hit my stride where I can find the right level of how to present things. So for every pose, everything you present, there's basically a need to know section.
Yep.
And if you want more, you go to the deeper dive kind of thing.
That's
So I can parse out like how much information do you want, and that allows you not to. If you want to drink through the fire hose, you can, but you're not. Right?
If I was to ask you, because I think some people might be able to relate, because I think from listening to your stories, when you first got into yoga, you know, hearing some of your stories to how you are now, you could probably give an example of your perspective to now, like of growing through the years, you know, so that people could understand that you're not just a technical guy, because you've got a whole ball of knowledge that only now. And so
Yeah.
you could go back to your youth and be a little bit gnarly like the surf guy that came in through, and so people could hear that perspective grow maybe.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's it, is that I'm a surfer, I'm a skateboarder, I'm a mover. I love movement. And if I'm technical at all, it's because I want to keep doing that stuff for a long time, right? And actually, that's the kind of a key point, is that a lot of the ways I was doing my yoga before was hurting me, and it was actually making my surfing worse. And so, like, I mean, I was more sore. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, for sure, I love sports. I love all that stuff. Yeah, my background, I used to live in Hawaii, surfing, Bali, all this stuff. It's like, I'm an adrenaline junkie underneath it all too. Zen, very zen, but I love my dose of wahoo.
Yeah. And I think that's important, because like also a lot of people would say at your age they wouldn't be able to do it, and you've had a few injuries along the journey as well, and you're just as capable, if not more comfortable in your body at your age than you were when you were probably a little younger, right? From what I can understand.
It's not even on the same chart.
Yeah.
It's honestly not even on the same chart. I mean, 54 years old now, and like almost everyone I know is 54 says, "Oh, I wish I had my younger body back." And I'm like, don't put me back in that broken down thing. I don't want to be my 25-year-old. Not a freaking chance. I'm serious, and that's not a sales pitch. I mean, that's honestly the way I feel. And I mean, when you mentioned the technical things, that's, I mean, I don't think if I wouldn't have studied and learned a little bit of biomechanical principles, I think I would not be saying that. But that's why I wanted to write this book and really share it, because it does take a bit. If you just, I mean, basically the way I have it is it takes 5 hours to read the book. And if you just take that 5 hours and read the book for the rest of your life, you're going to really extend your, you know, we talk about lifespan, and then some people have used the word health span.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do is extend your movement span. You know, I want to extend people's movement span as well. So, yeah, so invest 5 hours, learn how your foot arches work, learn how, if you apply tension on one side of the body, how it reduces the compression, the pinching of the joints, how that will help them function so much better.
Yes.
I mean, and actually on the movement side, like it's funny, because here it is, a yoga book, but we have, like, I have in there how to paddle a surfboard, how to punch martial arts, how to run with a football, how to deadlift.
Beautiful.
You know, 3 pounds or something, all using the exact same principles. So it's not that you just do things on a yoga mat for an hour and a half and then you go to your life and that was what I did in yoga. Now I'm using my body in a different way. But actually, the experience on your yoga mat will inform everything you're doing, from jumping on trampolines to, you know, still jumping on trampolines, doing backflips, all that stuff. It will help you, like, how you're actually landing. Yeah, it's the yoga's kind of the drill for all your movement you're doing in life. It's slow and it's precise. It should be. It's not always taught like that.
And I think a lot of people don't like interlace the movements, like you're, you know, talking about jumping, and jumping actually has a lot of hip thrusting, and hip thrusting also comes into a lot of yoga based movements. And so when you're aware of how to use the right way when you need it in a certain yoga pose, then you know how to activate the muscles. It's not necessarily that you're hip thrusting, but being able to activate the muscles in say you're doing a different pose in the gym is so important, because then you'll slow it down and use it in your yoga pose. And so that's what a lot of people don't like realize. They go to the gym and they lift heavy, but how do you interlace it and make it a full connective experience, whether you're running, whether you're surfing, which is what's great about you, because you have your surfing, your Tai Chi, your functional body movement, and yoga all encompassed in a yoga pose, right?
Yeah.
Or yoga.
And I think that actually, I mean, I have to be honest, you know, I look at guys like, I'm sure a lot of people listening know Ido Portal, you know, amazing, you know, like what an unreal mover he is. Or there's people who do like functional patterns, for example. And these guys have outrightly said that yoga is the worst place to learn movement principles in the world. It's just very passive. You're just kind of collapsing into these poses. You're not really learning how to move. And you know what? I actually agree with them.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm trying to do is just, one, like I fused all these other movement principles with yoga. So it's kind of a new love child between yoga, biomechanics, different types of movement, martial arts, all these things. Like, and so distilled that all down with the intention to move better. But also I feel like we kind of get lazy in our yoga industry. And a lot of people learn, you know, these cues, like lock your knee, what I don't know, just all these things we just say, reach your foot. I don't know, just they're just, we don't really know why we say certain things. Make your forearms parallel to each other in forearm stand, and we don't even know why we're doing them anymore. So basically, what I'm trying to do is spring cleaning for the industry, and just go like, okay, why do we say that? Is it beneficial? Is it not? Let's clean out the drawer.
Yeah.
We take everything out and go, yes, this is actually a smart thing to say. It will help you move better now, and when you're 80 years old, it stays. This is a totally ridiculous thing that somebody started to say because it looks good in a picture or whatever, like make your shin parallel to the perpendicular to the floor and all this stuff. Like, no, that goes, let it go, take it out, and let's replace it with good stuff. So I'm trying to just spring clean
Nice
practice that we all love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if you were if you could think of like one or two big myths that you've heard over the years that kind of, you know, keep coming up, are there any that you could mention that maybe bring a little bit of light to yoga to make people a little bit more comfortable in coming into the space? You know, there's so many, like just example, you know, you have to be flexible to do it. Do you have any that spring to mind that, you know, restrict a lot of people coming to explore the spaces of yoga?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big one. I mean, we can start to find other ones after that. But that idea of like I'm not flexible enough to do yoga is a total myth. I mean, I've been saying it for a long time, but that's like
Got to
that, you know, I always said that's like saying you're too dirty to have a shower, right? Like it's just you're too broke to start saving money. But also the other part of it is that flexibility is just one part of it. And what type of flexibility are you actually looking for? And like, do you actually still have control of your muscles as you're being flexible? And you might find that the people who are actually inflexible, if they put the time in, can actually be really good at movement if they just expand their range of motion and learn how to open their muscles up. And, you know, things I was talking about, like here's some basic physiology I love to bring into it, is a lot of guys, okay, that's on the surface level, right? And I don't even know if it's really new to people to hear that, like, but I'm going to drill down a little deeper, stuff that might be new to people who say they're inflexible. And that is like, first of all, I don't know, I should tell people my background. I study anatomy and physiology at Harvard Medical School. Like I really got deep into this, right? So I'm studying exercise physiology right now at UC Berkeley in California. I'm really into the studying the body. So just one thing I want to tell you is don't even think in terms of flexibility, okay? So people get caught up in this word flexibility. So if I take my hands like this, these are cross bridges of muscles with actin and myosin filaments. Without getting too technical, don't worry, I'm not going to nerd out on you. But all I want to tell you is that when they contract, they go like this, and when they get into a stretch, they go like this. Now we call that flexibility. Actually, they go like that. You go apart. But anyway, we call that flexibility, but technically the word is extensibility, right? So the sarcomeres, the muscle units, basically become extendable. The actin and myosin get extends it apart. Now here's the whole point, is that some people's muscles take less time to be at their full extensible range, right? So they're just hypermobile, they just move so easily. Mm-hmm. Other people, it takes a bit more time, but if they gave it the time, they would actually find that actually you're more flexible than you think. The problem is that when you get to that type of place, what happens to so many people, male or female, it doesn't matter actually why chromosomes, we get these stories in our head to go, oh my God, I'm so tight, I'm not that bendy person. And we start filling our head with those types of stories. And we don't realize if we just can back up a little bit, that our nervous system relaxed, that actually, if you gave it a little bit more time, your muscles would be more extensible than you think. And so actually, these are the types of things I want to share in the book, that if you actually just had a little bit of physiological knowledge, that would actually help you. Knowledge is power, and that's going to help you become more flexible. So that's the type of thing I'm trying to share in the book, of like, how do these muscle units work? And if you just, I don't want you to go to kinesiology school, I don't want you to nerd out, but just even that little bit of knowledge is going to help you so much, so you don't just go like, oh, I suck, and like tighten things up, and you're like, okay, how can I actually work smart with the mechanisms in my body? And if you can understand the mechanisms, you can go with the grain rather than against it.
Beautiful. And the other thought pattern I had was, because I know you came from a knee injury in lotus pose, if I have my memories on, and a lot have concerns about knees, right? Which you are very important subject when you teach as well. Maybe you want to share a little bit of, like, for those that, you know, are really reserved in joint areas, how it's actually very beneficial, because a lot of people, you know, counter that, oh, my knee won't do that, or that will injure your knee, or so on and so forth.
So particularly about the knee, or just joints in general?
Joints in general would be great. I just know that's from your background with your knee. I'm not sure if you have that, but
is that in the book, again, if everyone's missing, this is the book that's coming up. By the way, I should mention, just before we get to that topic, one thing I'd love to mention is we're starting a Kickstarter on July 10th. So if you're into some of these ideas you're hearing, we'll get ready to post a link. It's on, if you go to Kickstarter and look up Blissology and just go to the notify me link, that's what we're asking people to do. How does Kickstarter work? It's basically pre-sales of the book, but if you buy it early, it helps me to get it produced. But there's also, it's actually super fun. It's super fun because you get this whole crowd involved, and it's like, hey, if 1,000 people buy the book, then everyone gets a hardcover. If 1,500 people buy the book, then we're running a big ass party in North America, in New York or something. If 2,000 people, we're gonna go freaking London and do this, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's like really fun. That's the way the crowdfunding works. It's just like a lot of people coming together to make this vision happen. So this is the type of knowledge I want to bring out to people. So yeah, just now we're coming back to the joint topic. This is the type of things that will be in the book. What I can tell you is the way I describe this yoga that I'm presenting is that it's joint first yoga. That is, it's not flexibility first yoga. It is about flexibility, but actually flexibility is not priority one. Priority one is the health of your joints, because there's all kinds of things that people do to increase their range of motion, and by doing that, they take tension off of their body, because the tension is the stretch, but it actually restricts your range of motion. I'll give you an example in a second so it's less esoteric. And then, but if you can keep the tension in the right place in the body, then that will actually help to protect your joints. Okay, so if you want to drill into an example, you're mentioning the knee. Sure. I mean, we had a whole conversation about this in our class this morning. It's a classic, you know, knee over toe conversation. And, you know, all kinds of people, and in fitness, you know, for 25 years, we had this, like, do not put your knee over your toe no matter what. And a lot of you probably seen the knee over toe guy or whatever, right? But that's like, the whole point is, oh God, how can I do this now? All right, here I'm at Starbucks. A little quick lesson, hang on. I'm gonna put it down here. Let me know if you can hear me. But if I sink down like this, now if I just sink into the pose as much as possible, I don't have tension on my quadricep. And now when I sink down, like, all my body weight's going into my knee and it's not protected. Okay, so what I would prefer people do is to press up and forward until you feel the tension, which oddly restricts your movement. Then eccentrically bring it down, keep the tension on, and then when you go forward with all your body weight, you're suspended like guy wires here. So there's like I mean, the class we were doing that, and I got somebody who weighs 200 pounds. I'm not sure how many kilos that is. Hang on, like
A few.
yeah, like yeah. I mean, big guy, 6 foot tall guy, to sit on my knee with all his body weight, and I'm like, knee's totally fine. But if I didn't have the tension on my back quadricep muscle, I could sink my hips lower to the floor. But the sacrifice would be I'd have less stability in my knee, which is maybe okay if I don't have any load on it. But as soon as I start doing more complicated things with load, then wow, it's dangerous. So I don't know if that's a good example of what I'm talking about. And so that's what I'm trying to do is prioritize, again, just the joints. And then I'm still going to get a stretch here.
Yes.
Second priority.
Yeah. No, it's such a big deal to actually have the activation there. And also, like, even if you're talking about the knee joint relates to the hip joint, or if you've got wrist issues, you're going up towards the elbow, you're going up towards the shoulders, you're going up to the neck. And a lot of people just think that it's stated in the one joint or one spot, but it's always correlating to so much other points of your body that perhaps are not activated as well, right? When you're going.
Physiology that if one joint gets compressed, then it travels up 2 joints. So for example, if I'm doing a lotus pose and my ankle joint gets all twisted and the compression goes into my ankle, then that is going to also have a residual effect in my knee and my hip as well. There'll probably be some kind of compromise in the way the forces go through that joint as well. Yeah.
And Ian,
Rule.
as to the joint like not working, like your knee, because you were damaged to the point where you weren't walking, was that right at one point? Or
it's an Ashtanga yoga story. I grew up in the 90s. I used to live in Hawaii. I did a lot of Ashtanga yoga. I'm not trying to say anything negative about that style. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Patabi Joyce, great teacher. I still respect him. And there's another thing I talk about in the book called endpoint yoga. I'm going to show you one more time. Here's the book. And in the book, we talk about endpoint yoga. We talk about geometry. So I don't even use the word alignment. I use the word attunement. We talk about endpoint yoga. Talk about geometrically perfect yoga. Talk about active and passive. But what I want to teach people is sensation-guided attunement, to learn how they're feeling for tension into the body and the inner sense of peace they're feeling as well. Okay, so my key point is, back in 1999, I didn't know any of that. In fact, this is why I'm writing. This is what put me on the path to find better teachers, and why I'm so passionate about getting this book out. So I was practicing endpoint yoga. Okay, so back then, I'm not sure how Ashtanga works now, but back then it was a series, and so basically in the primary series or in any series in Ashtanga yoga, you had to stop. So you would keep going until you got to a certain place in the series, and then you would stop. It didn't matter if there was like 40 minutes left in practice, you had to stop there, right? It actually totally drove me crazy. So the pose, like my stopping plays, was this pose called Marichyasana D, where you put one foot in half lotus, take the other leg and bend it, and take your arms around and clasp. And I was a bigger guy, I was pretty strong, and I don't know, just even I realize now, even anatomically, like my arms, like I couldn't, like it wouldn't even be physiologically possible for me to do it. But the guru came, and this knee was up in half lotus, and it's probably this far off the floor, and he steps on it with all his body weight and presses it down onto the floor, and then takes my hands and he binds them. And we always talk about in yoga, don't we? Like, use your breath as your barometer and all this stuff. Like, I was probably like but I got my arms clasped, and I was just so stoked. I mean, here I am, the pose that for probably 4 years of my life, I had to stop every single practice after 40 minutes, and finally, like the gatekeeper, I was through. And I literally was through because, yeah, I didn't walk for 6 months after that, right? I mean, I tore my medial collateral ligament, and I didn't ever think that I would walk.
Wow.
Time. I never thought I would do yoga. Like, I mean, I never thought I'd teach yoga. I was like, this is it. I'm over. I actually started getting better. And as I started going back into yoga, I just really, this is coming back to the joint first yoga, I just really realized, like, oh, if I keep my knee stable, all my movements are around a stable knee, and actually, here I'm going to do like I don't know if it's going to, if you can see it exactly, but I'm trying to do, here's my knee, here's my hip, and I'm doing a pigeon pose.
Yep.
So from my knee, I'm pulling my hip back and going, actually, if I stabilize my knees, so now in pigeon pose, I tell people, stabilize ankles and knees and mobilize your hips. A lot of times we sit in our hip and try and bring our chest to the floor. I just did it exactly opposite. And I'm like, this doesn't hurt my knee at all.
That's
And then I realized, oh my God, I'm getting a way more precise stretch than if I did it the way I used to do it. And I realized, man, the way I used to do it, I was actually dumping my body weight. I had more pounds per square inch on my knee the whole time. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm like, it was a eureka moment. And I'm like, what I told you before, and if people were jumping on, what I was saying is that I'm trying to spring clean it and go, spring clean it, meaning the yoga industry, and just go like, don't do all these things like bring your chest to the floor and stuff like I've actually done these things where I've gone into Google and showed all the pigeon poses in the world in the courses and go, it's going to be really hard when I'm telling you, because here's the top 50 images of pigeon poses. I see like 2 or 3 of them that are doing what I want you to do, right? And the other, 47 are completely opposite. I mean, don't do that. Take your hands and press back up the truck, and try and get the stretch by creating that tension rather than letting your hip pull you forward into your knee. So I don't know if it's hard when you're not seeing what I'm demonstrating, but hopefully people can follow along in that story. Anyway, kind of went full circle from when knee injury became my biggest teacher. I learned so much. I started studying with great yoga teachers, but I also started studying with, I studied biomechanics. I studied anatomy trains, Tom Meyer stuff, how fascia works. I worked with all kinds of different things. And so what I'm offering is this cross-pollination of, I think, the best of all kinds of different modalities, and fused it with yoga. So it is kind of a newer approach. I mean, that's my hard thing, is that people are like, oh yeah, I know yoga. I'm like, yeah, but it's a little bit different,
Yeah.
like a little tweak to the formula, some special sauce that I want you to get.
I know for me, like I came from running background, as Ian knows, and swimming. And so when I started yoga, I was like, oh, this is really freaking boring, because I was a bit of a, like I like to keep going fast. And so when I came to Ian's teacher training, it was pretty exciting for me, because it was so much fun and it was so functional, and it wasn't just like staying in the one pose. And I love that for me personally, because I love, I have a personal training background as well and studied sports science in school. So for me, I've, found it really enlightening. Like, you do get your mind calm, of course, which is the whole focus as well, and your nervous system, but you learn joy in your body, which a lot of experiences with yoga, for a lot of us, don't get in some, teaching backgrounds. And that's not to say that it's not good or bad, but a lot of people are looking for more. And so the great thing about Ian's yoga is you get more. You get this incredible experience where it's about you and your body, but you can learn it for all bodies as well, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, that's an important part. I mean, yeah, I guess if people are thinking it's only technical, then yeah, I don't mean to, I'm just kind of jazzed on that aspect, because we just finished a whole course about it. And yeah, there's definitely, a whole philosophy behind it as well. I mean, it's basically this. It's really simple. And even when we do technical things and learn about the body, all this stuff, it's basically like, life is a miracle. My body is a temple. And there's a place inside of me that knows deep love and connection to all other forms of life in the planet. And yoga helps open us up to it. Okay. But we do yoga in gravity. And so when you do study about the body, it's from this place of deep reverence and respect, and like, I know if I can be kind to my own self, then I can ripple that out to my friends and family, to my communities, and nature, and that's so much what this whole thing is all about. Yes, that's
And
the philosophy.
when you talk about yoga optimized as the big bracket of what you've called it, how did you come to the name of the book, and what does it mean to you?
So it took so long. I mean, I was definitely looking for something simple, and I think, I mean, it's funny because it kind of ties in what you're just talking about. People could think of optimize as in perfect,
Yep.
right? Optimal yoga is doing something perfectly. And I know in gymnastics or in a lot of styles of yoga, or even in some Pilates modalities, it's like if there's a form and you can fit exactly into it, then that is optimal.
Yep.
But that's not it at all. What is optimal is when you can actually optimize what is best for you, so that you're, well, let's start, even I've been talking about the technical things, let's start with the mental things, so you can make your body a home for the joy that you were meant to feel, right? And so if you can learn, like, I mean, when we feel good, we spread good, and so this is the great gift of yoga. I mean, the people that were in these classes today, and like when we really go deep in this experience, there's a joy that just can't be contained. And yeah, and so the optimize is basically, like, the way I can say it is when you actually learn to make the pose fit you, and you're not trying to fit into other people's poses, you know. And we need to educate ourselves on how to do that. And when I say educate ourselves, that means both up here in a cerebral way, but it also means in a feeling way. So as your shirt says, yeah, the yoga is a feeling, not just a shape. So we want to be able to feel it, but we also want to be able to conceive it. And both of those two things work hand in hand to provide an experience where we can optimize, customize the yoga practice for us, so we can bring out our most, we can just make our body the temple that it is, so it can receive the signals of joy and love and peace that we should be feeling.
And I think it's really cool that you say that, because coming, if you look at a lot of elite athletes, and you look at a lot of social media people that are icons here that may have phenomenal performances, one of the things that is studied is when you come out of an elite performing athlete is there is a high amount of depression, and there is a high amount of struggle in fatigue and soreness in the body. And so there's kind of a balance between, yeah, cool, you can do an amazing thing, run fast, do an amazing handstand, do incredible gymnastics, but at the end of the day, the body is about, like you say, finding joy within movement. And those elite levels are not necessarily holding joy like it would be at a functional level when we're moving as well. And a lot of people get misguided, when you're chasing that pose on social media or pose in your head, and you miss that joy. And it's so important to have the sensation based and your own feeling of joy to be able to have a long movement span, a long lifespan, a long lifestyle.
Yeah, my next social media meme is going to say joy is your barometer. Like, if it's not, if what the way you're moving, what you're doing is not bringing you to joy, then we're missing the mark completely. And I've worked with a lot of athletes, Olympians and all that stuff, and I've seen what it's like to be doing these sports when you have the joy sucked out of you.
Yes.
Just stuff you need to do to perform. And you know what? They can do it for a while, but they slump. I work with Olympians in skiing, and that's so much what we do, of just do this practice again, back to this stuff, do this practice for the joy, and try and make joy your barometer in what we're doing. And then I'm like, just bring that back to your skiing. Like when you were 4, you used to love this stuff before you had to get up at 5 a.m. and do this shit all around the world and didn't have any social life anymore. And started, like, your whole happiness factor was like, do I get a medal or not? And if you didn't, you're freaking miserable. Just bring the joy back. And like almost inevitably, all these people got gold medals. I hate to say it. Like, I mean, love to say it, actually. It was awesome. And yeah, I mean, so joy is actually a powerful performance enhancer. Like, we tend to go the opposite way. I mean, actually, we do need discipline, right? It's actually a balance. I mean, I think if you're only messing around like a kid all the time too, then you don't get the discipline that you need. So it is that joy, discipline, balance we need. But yeah, if you are too overly disciplined, then
You
I think you start to, I think then you start to move towards the spectrum of perfectionism,
yes.
and perfectionism is the enemy of joy.
I think that was one of the stories you told also was when you were doing the early morning meditations and the gentleman asked you to go to the party and then you realized you were kind of missing out on a little bit of balance because you were doing like such a
Yeah,
strict yoga routine when you were younger. I remember that one. That was
yeah.
a great story.
I actually, it's good. I haven't told that story for a while. Yeah, I mean, I tried so hard to be the perfect yogi for so long, like super vegan. I don't know, waking up at 4 a.m., reading all these books, yoga books, meditating, chanting, doing yoga, going to teach yoga, reading more yoga books, doing more yoga, eating more vegan food, going to bed early, early, like 8 o'clock, get up at 4, doing it all again. And I like just didn't have much life, right? And, I wouldn't change it, but I definitely spent at least 3 or 4 years like that. And then, I was at a party. I was traveling and teaching, and I was at a party at my friend's place. Staying with a friend, and he was at a party. He brought me to it. I was having fun at first, but then it starts to be 8, 9 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I gotta wake up at 4 and do my practice. He's like, and to be honest with you, he's trying to pick up all these girls. I'm like, oh God, he's my ride home. I think everyone's had that feeling of when you went to a party with somebody, you want to go home, but they're your ride. And I'm like, this guy's not going anywhere anytime soon. Then I start to get the like, okay, if you can't beat them, join them mentality. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I haven't danced in a long time. I'm in the kitchen dancing with all these people, and God forbid it's 12:30 at night. You know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, how did this happen that tried so hard to be flexible for so long? I mean, really, that's it. That I actually became stiff and rigid, and I lost my joy. Like I was like physically flexible, mentally so stiff and boring. And that's just really it. Is like if joy is not your barometer, just something's going wrong. Yeah.
Definitely, right?
Yeah.
It's so fun to have that.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah. I mean, and like I say, I always got to put the caveat on it and go, it's just that balance thing, right? It's like, then you need discipline, the tapas we call in yoga, right? And you just got to know, like, weave between those two things, like you're just dancing your whole life through and never doing your practice, and that's not what it's about
No.
either. Yeah.
And can I inquire how's Insia doing? Is she doing well?
Yeah.
For those
My wife just went through cancer. And so she's free now. So let's just hope it stays that way. And she's an amazing Ayurveda teacher, and she's really leaned into those tools. And thank God she has those practices, to really help her through all of what she's gone through. And she's not in a outward like I'm gonna go teach a bunch of things or anything. She's just still in her little cocooning phase. But yeah, if she will blossom again,
yeah,
you know, and she's kind of in the like just these little shoots growing out in phase 2 of her life,
nice.
kind of thing. We're not rushing it,
Yeah,
but but it's really good. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced someone they love go through cancer, but it's hard, man. Like she lost 20 something pounds, her skin turned gray, and there was definitely times where I'm like, I don't know if
yeah,
I don't know if we're winning. And I definitely learned a ton about cancer, and she did too. And yeah, you know, I don't know if this is an interesting topic or not, but one thing that she's not going to do is like write some book and tell people that, oh, I have this great way of healing cancer and it's going to work for you.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of people come through and they say that, oh, I did this diet or that diet, this works and that diet. And they sell a ton of cookbooks and everyone tries to follow it. But I mean, actually, this is kind of the purpose of the book as well, is that it's not like this is where the yoga optimized comes from, and even healing optimized is that you can't do what's average for people. Like I can't say what worked to heal me is going to heal you. I can't say, she can't say what worked to heal her, like her diet she has going to work for her, because you got all kinds of different diet advice. And you know what? It did work for her, and we do need to optimize for people. I mean, if that makes sense to you, again, just let me bring it back to this book thing. I mean, the yoga book is about optimizing your yoga for you. And so last week, I did a course with another friend of mine, Harvard-trained integrated medicine doctor, and we're having this big conversation about precision medicine versus normal allopathic medicine. And so basically, when you look at how medicine is mostly practiced, it's done on averages. Okay, we had a trial of this many people, and on average, this dose of this medication worked best for the 10,000 people in the trial. But just the flaw of averages is going to tell you that that's the average, that's going to be like that means that that's going to, if you're at this end of the spectrum, that's probably like half as much dose as you need. You know what I mean? Or like it might not even be something that worked for you. Like, you know what I mean? So they have this emerging field called precision medicine or functional medicine, where you actually do the individual blood work and tests. And you know, a simple thing like cancer, when you do precision medicine with cancer, you would take this cancer stem cells and put them in a petri dish and grow them all, and then put different types of chemotherapy and go, okay, this one only got 30% results of actually neutralizing the cancer. This 60%, this one did 70. Let's go with the one for 70. Don't worry what the averages say. On average, that might have been not the one that was best for 10,000 people, right? And so, I don't know, it's kind of two topics I'm tying together. One is, how's Insia doing? So one thing is, again, she's not saying that what works well for her is going to work for everyone. She's not going to be writing some book, or like, she could make probably a lot of money doing that, but we're not going to do that. The second side of that is that actually I want to give people the tools through this book. So just leaving my wife's topic about like just lingering on that topic of average versus precise. Like that's my goal, is to educate people of like, okay, when you're doing pigeon pose, these are the muscles that we're trying to stretch. And so when you how we're trying to do it, on average, it might be good to have the front leg on 45-degree angle, but you might be some other angle, right? And like, don't go by the averages, play with you. On average, the hips might be this high from the floor, but yours may be a couple feet off the floor, you know? And so give people the knowledge and the skills so they can leave the world of average and to enter the world of the precise, which is really where the healing happens.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. And that, it just takes education, and that's my goal, is to educate people and democratize the tools. So you don't even need to go to a yoga instructor to get it. I mean, you can do it, you know? Yeah, yourself.
Of just self-inquiry too, right? To go on that journey, and like you, and which is what the book's giving you, that ability to self-inquire rather than ask for all the answers out there. You're asking for all the answers within, right?
Yeah. Totally, yeah. That's it, totally. And, you know, I don't know how much more time you have, but one thing I'd love to say just before we go is, I mean, one of the social media campaigns I want to do for this is that if you're a yoga practitioner, not a teacher, if you're a practitioner, you cover yourself. Like, you wouldn't go scuba diving without a license. You know what I mean? You wouldn't go up on a chairlift and go on some black diamond run without taking lessons first. But somehow we just like end up in these vinyasa yoga classes and get 30 seconds in a pose, and we're like, well, the yoga instructor will tell me if I'm doing something wrong. But a little social media campaign I want to do is that I actually can't see you. I can try my hardest, but I challenge anybody out there to try and watch 75 people doing something at the same time. It's just not physically possible to watch 75 people doing something. I can't. There's 75 people in a class. I can do my best to guide you, right? And I'm going to. But ultimately, if you are more educated to know what's best for you, and this is my big dream for yoga, is that we have more educated people in the courses, or in the classes, that can make the smartest decisions for themselves. And that's my big, big, big dream, is to give people that education so they can make the smartest decisions.
That's beautiful. It's so important that people can come in there and be themselves.
Yeah, and do it, right? Like another way, we just did this advanced alignment adjustments, and I'm like, look, I can train you all you want on how to give adjustments, but actually we need to almost teach students how to receive adjustments.
Yes.
That's another side of it, right?
Not
Because I told you my story. I didn't know how to receive an adjustment. Like, I take responsibility. I had no idea. I just gave my trust over to somebody, and unfortunately, I was kind of in my ego, and I wanted to get that pose, and did I pay?
Yeah, there's a point in which you have to say, oh, I'm not feeling it, or it's, you know, different to what you're saying it should be, so you can adjust appropriately, because nobody adjusts the same. You know, even if you're doing the same adjustment, there's a different feel of left, right, up, down, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually funny, in the course last week, we were doing so much stuff about the brain and how yoga changes your brain. But when some of the research is actually saying that I said that if your ego is in the way, but sometimes not even your ego. Like, this is the cool thing about yogis, is that we learn to self-regulate so much that it actually changes our brain. I think most people know that the brain doesn't just change our mind, but our mind actually changes our brain neuronally. And yeah, I don't know. It's actually really powerful. So what I'm saying is that the yoga actually creates more gray matter in your insula. That is where we actually have more sensation, where we notice more sensation. And so that actually, this means that we're more tolerant to pain. So when we actually do tests, pain tolerance tests, nothing to do with stretching. Like, the pain tolerance test is sticking your hand in ice, and it's basically, when do you feel ice, or when do you feel really cold and uncomfortable is your pain threshold, and then you have tolerance, is how long you keep your hand in. Like, yogis are off the charts.
Yes.
Right? So you just have to realize that and go, well, I might not even be my ego. I just, like, we join with the breath. All these things help us to manage pain, which is really good. But then when it comes to our joints, it means that actually we might not know that we've pushed a joint too far until the next day, even if we are most sensitive to our feelings and not our ego and all this other stuff. Like, there's actually mechanisms inside there. So it takes real education. Like, I'm trying to come back to the point of, like, there's so much in it. I mean, this book, I did it, like, okay, just doing this, right? How long do you think it took me to write about that? It took me like 3.5 weeks just breaking that movement down. Like, there's so much to it. And obviously my goal was to make it simple. And someone said that I didn't have time to write something short, so I keep it long. So it takes time to comb through, like, what do people really need to know? What do they really need to know? And it took a long time to get to that point. But still, like, I'm really proud of what came out of it, but it just takes time. And my key point is that if just this movement takes a lot of knowledge, and let's learn it. Let's make it simple. And that's my goal.
And I think also it's really important to highlight is time, because there's a lot of 30-day programs and so on and so forth out there, but we're talking about, it's a lifestyle of movement. It's a lifestyle of being human. It's never ever going to be a 10-day, 30-day, because what do you do after that? You've got to keep going. So you may as well use that whole time to discover and to learn and to grow, and to not get caught up on that bandwagon of, you know, even like you said, writing a book and then you had to scrap it all out and then you had to rewrite it again, because it takes time. My dad's been writing a book for, I think, nearly 40 years on plants, you know, and he's still going strong at nearly 72. Yeah. So it takes time. Yeah.
Well, that makes you feel better. 40 years. I thought 12 was a lot.
I remember him sitting in his desk and he's still going strong. Could give you every Latin name possible and he's still not done with it.
Crazy. Well, plus he probably keeps learning too. That's my problem too. But also, well, look, I better let everybody go soon. But I did want to say, like, if these ideas are inspiring, I'm gonna just bring it back one more time. I'd love to, like, bring people's attention to the Kickstarter. Yeah. So what I realized is a lot of people, again, don't know how Kickstarters work. But again, it's just a fun place where I'm like, okay, I got to get this done. You've heard what it's all about, like giving people these tools. And again, just, you can look up Blissology on Kickstarter and just go there. And we'll release it on July 10th. But if you can just even click the notify me link, that would really help us. And then share it on your social media, like help get the word out to people. Because what I do want to say, and maybe just another reason why your dad took so long as well, is that it's crazy writing a book with no advance from a publisher. Mm-hmm. Like right now, like in a normal year, I would have been teaching training in Bali. I would have been travel, like I normally go to 2 or 3 cities every month. I'm not doing any of that because I'm trying to get the book written and staying in one space. So it's like financially, it's just like I'm in the hot seat. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say it like that, right? So it's just by paying $30 to get this advanced copy of the book just helps us to get it produced. And then, like I say, there's so many incentives that are there for people. Like I say, if we sell so much, if we get to our goals, we're going to share it with you, So again, you'll get the hardcover, you'll get badges and pins and stuff sent to you, like really cool stuff. So.
And I think it's beautiful because I think we all often forget to, although Ian's doing all the work with all his knowledge, we do rise by lifting others, and not only will he be sharing what he's teaching to help you, but he's also continually helping others to be able to ripple effect for a lot longer than just a book. And that's a beautiful gift too. By us being able to help, we get to ripple effect this beautiful health lifestyle out and yoga, and everyone gets a benefit from it.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Cool. Anyway, I'm so glad we did this, Ree. Oh my God. You're in Bangkok right now?
I am in Bangkok, yes. The big crazy city. Maybe another year, and then we'll be somewhere.
Yeah. Oh man, I love watching all the things you can do. It's so inspirational, man. It's awesome. Yeah.
I've got a skateboard that my dad made me when I was like 10. It's like this little wooden one, really wobbly, and I've never learned to skateboard. I was a knee boarder and a bum boarder. So that's still on my bucket list, and I admire you watching you now in your 50s skateboarding, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. Yeah, I did actually. That's the one. I did actually have a bad shoulder injury, to be honest with you. But it's kind of part of it. I learned how to rehab it. That still bug me sometimes, but yeah, it's all worth it. I mean, surfing better, definitely less impact.
Yeah, yeah, and you have strong legs with surfing. Like it actually is dad at 70 says, trying to power up on the board is pretty difficult. I mean, he has a metal rod in one of his legs from shattering his femur, but it's interesting listening to him. He said there's a big difference between 60s and 70s, and like even watching him to spring out of a pool, it's not the same. He said they just don't have the power, so it's really important, like lifting weights and stretching and all of those things. So it's fascinating watching the human body age, particularly as an athletic person. There's so much to learn, and injuries are a part of it. They make you wiser and they make you more humble as well, which is a good thing.
That is a good thing, right? Yeah, I mean, pain of any sort is always an invitation for more intimacy. Yeah. Chance to slow down and really become intimate with whatever is not right.
Yes, there's always something not.
Yeah, even the pain of a breakup, is a chance to really have a deep check in. And
you learn a lot
into your own self. Yeah,
it's a beautiful experience. You can't have the sunshine without the rain. You can't have the pain without the pleasure.
Right, and yeah, that's true too. Yeah, but I just wish people could see that pain opens a beautiful door to somewhere incredible inside of you if you let it.
And Insia would be a great
or it can keep that door closed where you actually rot from the inside out, which is really right. And actually bringing it back to yoga, I feel like that is one of yoga's big gifts. As much as I'm talking about how it helps your hamstring and your hip muscle or whatever, like it actually gives us a space to collectively process pain instead of sweeping it under the rug. We can breathe it out, move it out, and really really release what's inside of our hearts, so we're not held so tightly and gripped, and we can be kinder to each other.
I think that's the hugest thing I've noticed. The more healing you do, the less you need to judge or shame or to be rude to someone else, because you realize that you're all on the same path and you're all suffering, and so there's no point transferring your suffering somewhere else because it doesn't really release yours either. So it's a beautiful gift when we all start healing, because we're able to look at each other rather than look past each other.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we should leave with I always love this quote because it's not even a yoga. It's Gaius is a Roman emperor. I think most people know it, but maybe a good thing to end on is Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
You know, he said, he's Roman emperor, as I mentioned. He said that be kind to everyone you meet, for they too are fighting a hard battle. You know, it's just, I think if we had that attitude that people are doing their best, they too are having a hard time. You know, walk a mile in their shoes and see where they're at, and also in your own self, like, okay, I'm fighting a hard battle as well, and be kind to your own self. Like, be kind to yourself because you're fighting a hard battle. You know.
That's an awesome word. So, just to recap, if anybody wants to go follow you on Kickstarter, Kickstarter Blissology.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep. Here's the book.
All right.
Yoga Optimized. Again, it comes out July 10th.
That any jump on any courses that you're doing that are still available for people to jump on?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch online actually. If you just go to blissology.com, we got lots of them online and interactive too with mentors. We have some for just everyday practitioners that want to go deeper, either philosophical level, breathing, or if you want to get deeper into the actual yoga practice, we have all kinds of ones for those as well. And then we have teacher training programs online at the 200 and 500 hour levels. So we have lots of stuff like that, as well as the Kickstarter as well. It's all on the Blissology site.
I'm so excited. It's so nice to see you, and I'm so excited. It's been too long.
Let's make it happen, yeah. Okay, thanks guys for counting down.
July 10th, the Kickstarter program is official.
But don't wait until July 10th. If you can just go, there's one little button to click and it says notify me when the launch comes out. It's really good. We're just trying to get as many people to do that beforehand. Actually, my other post, The Blissologist, there's a picture of the book if you want to share that post with people and just get the word out. Like, I think it's really going to, I don't know, I think it's really going to be the yoga book that people have on their shelves, you know, for a long, long time.
Great.
And as I mentioned, I hope it changes movement as well. I really hope that we get people who do other forms of movement coming into our yoga world and seeing the great things that yoga can do for you, that you know and I know and people watching know. We can really make it strong again, because a lot of people, like a lot of studios, are going to business and it's kind of dipping. And this book, I think, is going to bring yoga back.
I think so. It's awesome. All your teachers, so sharing them.
Cool. All right. Much love. Thanks. Oh, there's LJ. Right on. Thanks, LJ. All right, guys. We'll talk to you all soon, yeah?
Bye.
Ciao. All good. Peace. Bye, Reed.
See you later.
Yeah.